Thank you so much, Marinelli, for that very interesting presentation. Our next panel, it's very important and critical at this moment especially. It's about the role of innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship in empowering women. We know that increasing access to education for women means a major benefit to society. Empowered and educated women have healthier and better homes and better families and therefore better communities. They also have the ability to unleash a huge economic potential. This is true in science and technology especially. However, the innovation and technology industry currently suffer from a major underrepresentation of women. So what can we do to make the playing field more equal for female entrepreneurship and innovators? We're going to hear from a group of women who are innovating in their cities, in their companies, in their communities, and in their workplace. So now, I would like to welcome to the stage our next panel, moderator. Her name is Gabriela Warkentin of the W Radio, Valérie Plante, Mayor of Montréal, Marie Berg, Vice Mayor of Oslo, Gabriela Mont, founder of Laboratorio para la Ciudad, and María Toledo Garibaldi of Mexico City Women4Climate Mentorship Program. So please welcome them to the stage.
Bueno, ya estamos. Bueno, muy buenos días todavía, y muchas gracias. Yo soy Gabriela Warkentin de W Radio y me da mucho gusto que me hayan invitado a moderar este panel, que más que moderarlo será simplemente invitar a las colegas que me acompañan aquí a que hablen. Voy a hacer las preguntas en inglés como se me pidió, pero si alguien quiere contestar en español también no hay absolutamente ningún problema, pero se me pidió que por atención a quienes nos acompañan las preguntas las haga yo en inglés. Y vamos a hablar en este panel sobre todo de innovación. Hay diferentes estrategias de innovación que nos irán presentando. Yo voy a ir haciendo algunas preguntas, apuntaré algo y si alguna de ustedes en algún momento quiere comentar algo, por supuesto, más que bienvenidas. Y ya me irá indicando el equipo organizador cómo andamos de tiempos y esas cosas. Bueno, ahí veo que hay un reloj, así que pues sin más nos apuramos. Les decía, vamos a hablar de innovación y voy a comenzar. Está con nosotros Valérie Plante, ella es la Mayor of Montréal. Bienvenida, por favor, Valérie.
Gracias,
Está también con nosotros Marie Berg, ella es de Oslo. Marie, ¿dónde estás? Ahí estás, Marie, mucho gusto. Es que no a todas las conocí antes de subir, por eso mucho gusto. Si pronuncio mal, if I say wrong your name or something, just tell me. Gabriela Mont, que es fundadora del Laboratorio para la Ciudad, también, por supuesto, bienvenida, tocaya. Carmen Muñoz, ella de Citelum. Did I say it right?
Soy yo.
¿Eres Carmen Muñoz, Dormoy, o cómo se pronuncia?
Bueno, sí, Dormoy en español, Dormoy en francés,
Dormoy, muy bien,
pero lo puedes
perfecto.
decir en español.
Muy bien. Y María Toledo Garibaldi, que es una de las que está en el programa del Mentorship Program acá de México, así que también bienvenida, María. Arrancamos con Valérie Plante, con la Mayor of Montréal. Valérie, and I would like you to explain to us, I know that you have been engaged or have been part of projects that are working with innovation or innovation strategies, and I would really like you to tell us what kind of innovation strategies you have been working on regarding what is very important to this forum, which is inclusion, which is equality, which is also sustainability. Please, go ahead.
No sé si el micro funciona. ¿Sí?
Sí,
Ok, bueno.
¿Se oye? Sí. ¿Sí le pueden subir un poco al micrófono? A ver.
Está bien, creo que sí. Bueno, gracias por la pregunta. Debo decir que estoy muy feliz de estar aquí en México. Y alors bonjour à tout le monde. We need to know that in Montreal, so I'll do Spanish, French, and English.
Yeah.
It will be a big mix.
That's good. That's beautiful.
So because in Montreal, we're the only city, francophone city in Canada, in North America, but we also use English a lot. And we do have a big Mexican community as well in Montreal. So innovation. Innovation is very important. I got elected only a few months ago. It was in November. I'm the first woman mayor of Montreal. So I think this is already innovation. And what I decided to do becoming mayor is to bring innovation to the forefront of all the issues, which is about mobility, housing, how do we fight climate change, are we more proactive in fighting green gas emission. And so I came up with a very progressive platform of ideas that people decided to vote for. Something that we need to know is that in Montreal for many, many years, it was not moving so much in terms of mobility, in terms of creating more transport options for Montrealers. And for us in Canada, if we really want to fight green gas emission, if we really want to, think about climate change, it's a lot about transport. Because in Canada, and I think in Mexico, we have similarities, but people are really attached to their cars. They like using their car to go from one place to another. But this is not working anymore, and Montreal is an island. And so we need to find ways to create more public transport. So since I got elected, and I'll be just one thing that I'm very proud of because it's only been 3 months, but the first move we did to show how important it is to give mobility options to our citizens is to buy 300 hybrid buses. And we just did that a month and a half ago. And along that, we are continuing a new subway line and adding a light rail train. So we are really, okay, I think I'm going to take this. Did I? Yes.
A ver, si nos ayudan con el micrófono acá, por
Mucho mejor. And so I'm not going to go on because I definitely want to hear what other people have to say, but I think what's important is that cities, and we know that's why we're here, we know that cities have a very important role to play because we're at the forefront of all the issues that our population are facing. And so we need to be proactive, we need to be bold, audacious, and say, even when people are resisting to change, ultimately we need to come up with the right arguments, the right way of presenting it, and move forward.
Yeah, I will come back to you later on to talk a little bit more about inclusion and equality, which I think is part of what you're just saying. But I want to move to Vice Mayor Berg, and you come from Oslo. You are the Deputy Mayor for Climate and Environment. And when we think about Norway, we always think about climate targets, we always think about environmental policies, but we also know that there's a high development on gender equality. So I would really like to ask you, Vice Mayor Berg, is there a link between gender equality and ambitious climate programs in a society? Can we link them together? And if so, if you can give us an example, for example, what you're doing in Oslo.
Okay. Okay, hi. It's really great to be here, and thank you for the question. Yes, we have a good gender equality in Norway, and I definitely think there's a link just because, well, if you want to solve the world's biggest problem, you need the whole of the population, not just the half of it. And so, for example, in Norway, we do have a female prime minister, we have a female financial minister, we have a female foreign minister, and then we have 5 of the 8 vice mayors and the governing mayor in Oslo. 5 of us are women. So I think that definitely there might be a link between having good climate policies and also...
And some project that you have been particularly working on, just like the mayor was telling us about something that they're doing about mobility and so on, particularly in Oslo, that you have been working on in recent time.
Well, what I think is that what we see in Oslo is that we need to we see that women are actually more willing to change than men are, and more willing to do stuff for saving the environment. So actually what we need to target in Oslo is maybe the man who wants to drive their car and still don't want to get rid of it. So I think that's maybe something that we need to work on. Yeah.
the car seems to be a problem, as I can see. The car seems to be a problem everywhere, not only like here in Mexico. I go to Gabriela Mont. Gabriela Mont, as I was telling you, is the founder of Laboratorio para la Ciudad. Gabriela, and she works both with local Mexico City government, also with citizens. And I would like you to share with us some of the most successful, or for you, the most interesting projects that have come out of this lab in particular that you really are proud of. Gabriela, please.
Absolutely. So for people that don't know the lab, we are officially the experimental arm / creative think tank of the Mexico City government. And we have a couple of particularities. One of them is that we hold the space between government and civil society, as Gabby just mentioned. And also probably because of this mix between humanities, artists, designers, writers, editors, and people that you usually find within government, such as political scientists, urban geographers, etc. So in this time, I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is that holding this in-between space, the first thing that we needed to do was become a strange attractor, if you will, from people of civil society. There's a huge mistrust between public institutions and citizens. So how do we create a space where we speak a language that people want to be involved in? So we had, to be honest, like I've been very touched to see many of our projects, such as like the Data Festival had 1,027 people signing up to work 48 hours for the city. When we wanted to crowdsource the gargantuan bus system of the city, we had 4,000 people and 700 teams signing up to crowdsource this information. The second thing that I think I'm very proud of is how can we make multidisciplinary hybrid teams between government officials as well as citizens to solve problems. Since we're on the theme of mobility, one of the things that happened is that the Mexico City didn't have a road safety plan. And so somebody came into my team, Jorge Cañas, that has been an activist for many, many years, and we proposed Vision Zero within the government, and we formed a working table, and we started working hand in hand with Laura Ballesteros, who's an amazing woman that has been doing a lot for the mobility here. And then we brought in the citizens. We brought in 40 organizations to work on the road safety plan of Mexico City. And even though as people from Mexico City, we know that right now it's become a little bit intense, the conversation, because of electoral processes, now we're seeing that when you bring in citizens, there is a much better space for sustainability in the long run. And with the great news that in 2 years of Vision Zero, we've been able to reduce the deaths by 18%. And it's the leading cause of death in children, preventable death in children and adolescents in the city, so this is no small feat. So I'd say that, like, being a place that functions as bridge, one of them, and second, beyond the experiments, being able to create these working teams that are really looking out for the benefit of the city instead of dividing along other lines.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. When, I mean, you're talking about like a place that is also the possibility for a common ground for diverse ways of seeing the city to come together and to try to explore things. And I'm sure that when you were talking about the projects that you had and the projects that you're talking about also is we really need to have these different points of view, but we need a common language. And I think that this is something that we have to work on. We need a common language so that we can build on it, because otherwise it's only going to be different points of views. So that's interesting, the examples that you're giving us, Gabriela. So I'm moving to Carmen Muñoz Dugma. And first I would like you to, if you can explain to us what is Citelum, and then what the transformation project you have, the Smart City Transformation Project.
Yes, I hope you allow me to speak in Spanish.
Please go ahead.
Sí, voy a hablar en español. Sí. Normalmente me paso mi vida trabajando en francés porque trabajo en Francia y para mí es tal placer estar aquí en México hablando español que por favor os lo pido.
Bienvenida.
Gracias.
Más que bienvenida.
Bueno, la empresa Citelum trabajamos en temas de infraestructuras urbanas, eficiencia energética, ahorro económico en proyectos de iluminación, movilidad, semáforos, congestión de semáforos para bajar niveles de polución. También trabajamos en temas de seguridad urbana y en plataformas urbanas en general que permiten coordinar todos los servicios. Pero bueno, imagino que por lo que estoy diciendo pensáis ya todos lo que soy un ingeniero, pero voy a deciros que el tema de la ciudad inteligente y la Smart City no tiene nada que ver con la tecnología. La tecnología no es un fin en sí, es más bien un medio. El principio de hacer una ciudad inteligente empieza por los ciudadanos, empieza por el proyecto por el que los ciudadanos votan, que es lo que se les ha prometido. Se les ha prometido disminuir la polución, como por ejemplo el caso de la alcaldesa de París, mejorar la movilidad, mejorar la seguridad de la ciudad, crear más empleo, y por ahí empieza el tema de la ciudad con su proyecto de Smart City. Luego las tecnologías hoy en día van tan rápido, hay tantísima innovación de las startups a los grandes grupos, que digamos que la tecnología estará ahí para aportar las respuestas. Pero lo más importante es saber para qué proyecto se está trabajando.
Y en ese sentido, pensando justo en la tecnología está, pero hay que hacer primero las preguntas y luego usar la tecnología. Por ejemplo, ¿cuál sería, ahorita ya apuntabas algunas, pero una o dos de esas preguntas que se están haciendo ahora para las cuales habrá la tecnología que se tenga que usar?
Sí, bueno, uno de los temas, por supuesto, ahora todas las ciudades, o la mayoría de las ciudades, están buscando limitar su impacto carbono. Con lo cual, todo lo que permite hacer economías de energía es muy importante, y muchos de los proyectos Smart City en el mundo empiezan principalmente por la iluminación, porque hoy en día con la tecnología LED y poniendo iluminación inteligente se puede conseguir de 50 a 70% de economía de energía, y esa economía permite financiar muchas veces otro tipo de servicios alrededor. También se ven muchas cosas alrededor de la movilidad, tratadas de forma distintas alrededor del mundo, pero en general con una voluntad de sacar los coches de la ciudad y al menos de sacar los que generan más polución, o si no, hacerles pagar. O sea, proyectos con estacionamiento o con control de tráfico, y cada vez más buscando fuentes de ingresos para la ciudad que permiten, haciendo pagar la polución o los que generan polución, financiar modos de transporte más sostenible. Y luego también un tema que ese es más genérico con respecto a toda la inclusión ciudadana, son los temas de seguridad, seguridad de los espacios públicos, seguridad para todos los ciudadanos, pero también muchas veces seguridad para mujeres y para niños.
Ok, interesantísimo, porque tiene que ver mucho también con lo que estamos hablando. Bueno, I moved to María Toledo, Garibaldi, who is over there, María, and I'm really interested to hear what you're going to say, because I live in the city, I love the city, I was born in the city, and I have always been a little bit shocked about what is happening, not only with our parks, but you're talking here about urban forests for Mexico City. So please tell us what your project is, because I'm very excited about it.
Thank you, Gabriela, and I'm very happy to be here. Can you hear me? Thank you. I'm very happy to be part of this great panel. And well, we all know that Mexico City has many and severe environmental problems. One of the most important in terms of public health and the quality, the environmental quality of the city, is air pollution. Almost 10,000 people die every year for breathing the toxic air of the city. So there are many initiatives in different cities, like in terms of mobility, in terms of lighting, as Carmen mentioned, but this is aimed to reduce the emissions. But we seem to be forgetting about the pollutants that are already there in the atmosphere, that are there, that are still accumulating, and they are not going anywhere, right? So considering this, the urban forests are a highly efficient and economical strategy to capture these pollutants that are in the atmosphere. Why? It's very simple, because trees absorb the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, they transform it into nutrients to grow, and as a result of this, they release oxygen. So they are doing two favors to us. They're like taking the pollutants and giving us oxygen. So it's simple, it's economical, and it's good for all of us, right? It's good for the quality of life of citizens and the environmental quality of the city.
I love it when someone says it's simple, and I just say, well, I'm glad that someone thinks it's simple, because I don't think it is, and I'm very glad that you're working on this. I'm going to go back to you later on, but well, I think that we have like the first round of questions and answers, so I'm going to be a little bit more specific. Mayor Plante, you were talking about, okay, you are the first mayor woman in Montreal. But if we look at, for example, startups, and you know startups are very important, women own only a little percentage of startups. Some say 5%, some say a little bit more, but it's a very small percentage of startups that are being owned by women. But it's important to have women also in the startup business, in the startup environment, in the startup ecology. So what can we do to shake up the industry in this that you are already starting to do, but also talking about this other environment?
There's few things we can do. I think that being present on a panel like this, have women with strong ideas and having some level of power is important. It shows that women can do it. But then the challenge starts with how do we make sure that women are always present around the table, any tables? And we're talking about climate change, but it could be also about how we think our cities. One of the things that I'm really proud of is in Montreal, we have this grid of analysis that uses like a gender bias. It helps us to, when we think about creating a park, when we think about changing a street, we always have this grid that helps us to make sure that there's women around the table, and then we have this grid because we know that when we think about the women, we think about the kids and the elders and everyone, so it's very important. So for me, it's about how do we create opportunities for women to be sitting at the table? And about innovation and about startups, there's so much need and potential for women to jump in because that's the whole point of startups, right? But we need to make sure as a city to put those women, like I said, around the table, to create networking opportunities, to have mentorship programs. That's also a very good idea. And to make sure that when we put programs together, that's, you know, I'm very comfortable with the quota system, but ultimately to have strong objectives that when financial resources are given to entrepreneurs, that there's women and they have to be part of that. So in Montreal, we decided to use the buildings, the city buildings that are not used, and we offer them to small entrepreneurs. And then we create networking opportunities. But even in sharing a space in a building, we need to make sure that women comes along, because often men will be like, oh, yeah, I'm ready, I'll take it. But then you just have to go to them. We need to network and reach out. We need to outreach as well. So more opportunities for women.
Yeah, outreach is very important because, as you say, I mean, the possibility is there, but it's not only the possibility. We really have outreach is good. It's very interesting what you say about the buildings. I move back to you, Vice Mayor Berg, and there is this project, or this, well, it's not a project anymore, it's working, called Climate Budget in Oslo. Can you tell us a little bit what the climate budget is? How does it work? And if you think that this is something that other cities should do also. But tell us first what the climate budget is.
Yes, definitely, and I can tell a little bit about what we're doing for climate in Oslo. For actually 3 years ago, I was not a politician, I was a climate activist. And then when I decided in 2015 to join the Green Party and to run for the city council, it was because we know that the cities stand for 70% of the emissions, and therefore cities can be both the problem and the solution to climate change. And at the same time, we can create better cities to live in with better air and more green areas and more safe school roads, for example, for our children. And now the city of Oslo has committed to cut our emissions by 95% within 2030. So that's actually one of the few places in the world that we know of that have a target that is in line with the Paris target of 1.5 degrees. So, but to then ensure that we reach our goal, because everybody can set a great target, right? But to ensure that we reach our goals, we need to have a good governance tool to make sure that the city is pulling in the whole city is pulling in the same direction, and that's the climate budgets. So, so on the question that okay, should cities, other cities adopt the climate budget? I would say yes, and I will tell a little bit about the climate budget. So that means that we, with our fiscal budget, we also pass the climate budget, and it means that we count CO2 the same way we count money. And every year in our budget, we report on emission cuts, and we show how the measures we will take to keep under the allowed limits.
Okay.
So we quantify the different measures, we show who in the city that will need to do it, and then we show when we need to do it, and every year and throughout the year, the different parts of the city will report on their climate measures at the same time as the report on their fiscal budget. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds interesting. It sounds really interesting, the climate budget issue. So, and then I move back to Gabriela Mont, and of course, you and the people that work at the lab in Mexico City, I know that you love the city as much as many of us love the city. But I would really like to share, if you can share with us, how do you see Mexico City, and I don't know, in 10 years, for example, how are you from the lab visualizing what this city should be in 10 years, including the forests that she's talking about?
So yes, we love the city, and because of our love of the city, it also breaks our heart every day. So in a certain sense, I think most of my team, that only 2 people had prior experience in government, all of them come from civil society, and many activists, as I mentioned, actually joined the team thinking that there's also change to be done on the side of government and policy. One of the things that I imagine for the future of the city, we, as you probably know, have a new Mexico City constitution, which is really paradigmatic, and we actually helped crowdsource part of it that became the largest movement on change.org worldwide. And there's a very specific thing that I'm incredibly excited about, which is the right to the city. So the right to the city is, how does this city be for everybody? If you're a transsexual person, if you are a 3-year-old, if you are a senior citizen, how do you actually make the city belong to you? If you take the right to the city back to Lefebvre and David Harvey and everything, it becomes even more poetic, because they start saying, okay, first we imagine the city, we make a city, and then the city in turns makes us. So basically, the right to the city is the right to imagine the place that you will inhabit and that will shape you. So I have the feeling that there's a lot of things that we could start working on, especially bringing in citizens into the construction of the city in a much more tangible fashion. I completely agree with the need for common ground, and right now we're seeing, for example, a lot of talented people. They presented yesterday. One of the projects that we're working with Minister Tania Müller on is, let's say, some young citizens, small ability, that now have these Mexico-made quality air sensors that will be able to give measurements in a dynamic form, pedestrian level, and that will complement what Tania has been doing, because Mexico City has been measuring air quality for 28 years, but we don't have dynamic sensors. So this is a young team, a startup, that is doing this. So how do we start creating this common ground, and how do we start figuring out that there's a huge paradox that we need to deal with in this contemporary world, which there is a huge mistrust on the normal, traditional political processes, and at the same time, there's every time more of a willingness to be part of your community and to be part of the realities that surround you. So this, I feel, is part of the future. And last but not least, also in terms of the megalopolis, how do we create both a vision, a collective vision for all of us, but also start understanding that Mexico City is very different and very diverse in its micro territory. So how do we travel the scales? Talking about the green part of the city, we now created a tool in the lab that we're using for our projects, that hopefully you will too, that other government offices are creating, where we're finding out, okay, we actually have 52 square meters of green areas in certain parts of Mexico City. And then Iztapalapa has 6 square meters of green space, but also has 500,000 kids. Yeah. So how do we start creating specific projects that also both become grounded in social urban realities and also speak to a wider vision?
Yeah. Travel the scales. I think that this is very important. It's very important, and the scales in all areas. I mean, the scales as a size, but also the cultural scales, the gender scales. And talking about gender, I come to you back, Carmen Muñoz Durmoa, and it's a similar question as I just had for Mayor Plante, but I was asking you, Mayor, about the startups, and I want to ask you about investment, about capital that has been invested into businesses, into companies. And I have a statistic here which is interesting, which says that in 2017, venture capitalists invested just $1.46 billion in women-led companies, and much more in male-led companies. So how can we do that? How can we travel also that scales, and how can we close that gender gap in big companies, for example, not only in startups?
Bueno, podría estar hablando una hora de ese tema, pero la cuestión de dónde va la inversión es una cuestión esencial, no solamente con respecto a las mujeres, pero en general para la economía. Vemos que ahora mismo todos los impactos del cambio climático van a ser fundamentales y estábamos hablando hasta ahora de las generaciones futuras, pero es que va a impactar ya nuestra generación, estamos viendo ya los cambios, con lo cual uno de los temas es cómo conseguir que la finanza vaya hacia proyectos virtuosos y se utilice mejor en proyectos que generan inclusión social y que generan durabilidad y no, por ejemplo, en proyectos de prospección de petróleo o de utilización de carbón, de minas de carbón para producir energía. O sea, eso es un tema mayor. En cuanto a la cuestión de las mujeres, efectivamente, hoy en día estamos todavía muy poco representadas a altos niveles en las compañías. Y ahí hay dos temas. Uno de ellos es el tema de los estereotipos. Hoy en día, bueno, aquí me alegra mucho porque en esta sala me han considerado rápidamente como alguien importante. Todo el mundo ha dicho, bueno, una directora general, pero en general en las reuniones a las que yo voy, que son casi todas reuniones de hombres, la mayoría de las veces me toman por la secretaria y con mi acento a veces por la portera. O sea que esa es la realidad de la vida. Hoy en día nadie se espera que una mujer sea directora general de una empresa porque todavía hay muchos estereotipos. Tenemos que luchar contra esos estereotipos. A mí lo que me hace feliz es que las mujeres alcaldesas, que cada día hay más, están haciéndolo mucho más rápido que las empresas. Y hoy en día el hecho de que mujeres tomen posiciones de poder en otros ámbitos de la sociedad nos abre la puerta para decir en las empresas también. Otro tema, además del tema de los estereotipos, que es fundamental, está el tema de la formación. Hoy en día, que la cosa esté clara, el futuro va a estar llevado por la tecnología. He dicho que la tecnología no es el objetivo, la tecnología es un medio, pero las empresas están ahí para dar medios de acción y la tecnología es algo que es fundamental. Yo soy ingeniero, el puesto que tengo lo tengo no por ser mujer, sino por ser un buen ingeniero. Y hoy en día yo trabajo en una asociación desde hace, ya creo, más de 10 años, en la que voy a las escuelas, a las niñas pequeñitas, a decirle, chica, tú no tienes por qué ser mala en matemáticas ni en física, eres igual de inteligente que los niños que están al lado. No hagas ni caso a los que te dicen que vas a ir a trabajar como peluquera o en acción social, que está muy bien, pero que ganarás muchísimo más dinero y podrás cambiar muchísimo mejor el mundo si haces estudios científicos y te haces estudios de ingeniería. Con lo cual, aquí lo que os pido a todas, muchas de vosotras sois madres, tenéis niñas, por favor, decidles que se puede, si son buenas en la escuela, estudiar matemáticas, física, ser ingeniero, hacer una buena carrera, tener hijos, tener un marido sin divorciar. Yo lo he hecho. Tener responsabilidades y cambiar el mundo. O sea, necesitamos luchar contra los estereotipos y más niñas haciendo estudios de ingeniería y de informática.
Gracias. Y yo creo que alguien a quien se lo contaron así fue a María Toledo Garibaldi. I'm sure that someone told you that you can do things because you are doing things. You're very young and you're doing things. So I want to finish this panel with you, and I want you to tell everybody that is here, how can the Women4Climate mentorship program help to achieve your goals, specifically your goals, and what do you need to help your vision become a reality, to help your story be a story with a happy ending?
Well, I think this project fundamentally needs, let's say, 3 roots to grow and become a reality. One of these roots is the citizens, for sure. The citizens need to take active part in improving their environment. They need to demand to the local government, to whoever is in charge of these decisions, they need to demand to take actions in doing this. So on one hand, we need the citizens, we need organizations, NGOs already working with this, all the people, all the efforts brought together to to work along. And we also need the support of the local government. We need design public policies that guarantees the conservation and the expansion of the urban forest. And in this sense, considering these three things, I think the program, the mentorship program, has been of great value, because all these opportunities that we have had to present our projects, we wouldn't have them by ourselves, or probably it will have been an effort of 5 years. No? But the C40 program, it's giving us that outreach, so many citizens as possible can hear about this project and join us. We have now a window with the local government as well, and I think this is very, very important.
Well, so I think that our task now is to go and share the narrative. So thank you very much, all of you, for this great panel, and thank you, of course, very much.